Today we are going to go with day 4 of exercises or training. Now I had told you that we can write a dynamic script which could work on multiple browsers and all, but what happens after you reach the website? You have to interact with the elements on the web page, and how do you do that? Okay, so we'll discuss that today. Fine. Suppose I want to go to this website. Fine. And on this website, I need to click on the sign in link and I need to enter the user ID and password. Alright, if I go by the old way and if I create a class known as a Rediff, and out here we can make a dynamic script which can take you to this website. You just have to name your browser. Okay, I have to include the Selenium jar files as well. Okay, it's mandatory that I should be including the jars in every project. Okay, so I'll include the Selenium jars and you go to the website. This is the website. You go here and then you have to enter the user ID, password and all everything. Okay, now to understand how to work with the elements of the web, right, you need to understand HTML. Okay, HTML is a markup language. You right click on the web page and you will be able to view the page source. This page source is nothing but the HTML language. Alright, fine. Now in HTML you have got tags, you have got attributes, you have got different things. If you scroll down this web page, then you will see that there are tags and attributes. For example, this is a div tag and class is one of the attributes. Okay, this is the input tag and type is attribute for the input tag. Name is attribute, value is attribute. This is the form tag, the attribute is name, action, method. There can be a one tag and one tag can have 0 to any number of attributes. For example, this is a tag known as body and it's got no attribute. Alright, so with the help of these tags and attributes, we analyze the page source and we interact with the element. Okay, page source for a website, it remains same for all the browsers. It is not that on every browser you will get a different page source. No. The page source for all the elements of a web page remains same across all the browsers, and you investigate the page source in Selenium to identify the elements. Okay, right? Now, if I go to the official website of Selenium, which is seleniumhq.org, and if I go to the download section, you will see that over here in the Java docs, you have a web element interface. This is the one. Okay, interface Web element. Look, what is a web element? I'm sorry. Web element is something which represents a generic HTML element. Okay. For example, talking in general terms, a button on a page is a web element. A text field is a web element. The normal text on the element is web element. Okay. Basically, everything, whatever is there on the web page, button, links, or general text, or radio buttons, or checkboxes, anything on a web page is known as a web element. Don't confuse it with web element of QTP. If you have studied QTP, that is different. Okay, this web element is different. Alright, so every component of the web page is known as a web element. And to interact with the web element, we use the web element interface. Okay, right. Now, how do you use this interface? Alright, if you look at the WebDriver interface, then in the WebDriver interface, you have a function known as findElement. FindElement function will find the element on the web page and return you the reference of WebElement interface. Okay. For example, you can write say WebElement, the username field equals to driver dot find element. Okay. Driver dot find element function will go and find an element on the web page. Okay, right? Driver dot find element function. This is very important. It goes and finds the element on the web page. All right, fine. Now, just 1 minute. How do you find the element? How do you give the criteria to find the element on which element? That we come to know from the page source. We analyze the element in the page source log. All right. Now, look, the thing is, there are tools available for analyzing page source. You don't have to right click and go in the page source. For example, in case of this rediff.com, if I have to analyze the username field in Firefox, I'm telling you about Firefox. I'll also tell you about Chrome and IE. Right? I will tell you. If I right click on this text field, I'll get the option to inspect the element. You can click on inspect and this small window will open up at the bottom with the element highlighted. This is the input tag. It's got an ID, max length, name, value, lot of attributes. Okay, so you can just right click on the element and say inspect element. That will be highlighted over here in the page. The code corresponding, the HTML code corresponding to that element. Fine. Now, as I told you, you identify the elements based on the tags and the attributes. If you have the attribute ID, then it really becomes easy to identify the elements. Or if you have the attribute name. Okay, if you have the ID or the name attribute, then in Selenium it really becomes easy because ID and name are supposed to be unique for the element on the web page. Okay, right. So how do you do that? There is a class in Selenium or rather hold on, I'll tell you. If you go to the documentation, Then in Selenium, there is a class known as by. This by class helps you to identify the elements. Okay, it's got the mechanisms used to locate element in a document. Document means the HTML page. Alright, and it's got the criterias like find the element by ID, by the link text, by the name. There is something known as xpath. We've talked about it. Okay, CSS selector also. I will tell you. Right. You can find the element by any criteria. Okay. Over here, what you can do is that you can write the thing driver.findElement. By the you have got in rediff, you have got the ID. So the by class reference you take over here. Everything in by class is static. So you write by the ID, you give the ID of the text field, login one. This is how you do it. Driver.findElement, and by which criteria? By the ID, by the name, by the xpath, CSS selector. Right, we give it over here. And it goes and extracts the element and returns you the web element corresponding to that. Okay. With the web element, what do you want to do? You want to write username dot send keys. Send keys function helps you to simulate typing into the element. Okay, so web element will help you to interact with the web page. Username is a web element, so I'll write username dot send keys user one support. So when you run this code, you see that in this username field, user one is written. Okay, right. Now, once this is done, user one is written. You want to type something inside the password field. Okay. Then if you look at this password field, right click on it and inspect the element, then password field has also got ID. It's also got name. So if you have ID or name, then it becomes easy as I told you. I can use name over here. I can write over here that web element password equals to driver dot find element by the name of the password field, and password dot send key. You can type in any password. So when you run this code, it will run and type the user ID and the password. Okay, fine. Now this is done. Okay, you have typed the user ID and the password. Out here, out here, if I run the script on, say I'm running on Chrome, you see that? If I run this, Chrome will open. I investigated the browser on Mozilla, but I'm running the script on Chrome. It is still running because the page source remains the same. The IDs, the names, okay, the HTML code will remain the same across different browsers. The script will run on different browsers. That is possible. You just have to change the browser name from here. Okay. Now there are two things. Firstly, what if out here say there are two elements on the page with the same name login? One. There are, you find out that there are two elements on the page with the same name login. One. What will you do? Well, firstly, this should not happen. IDs are supposed to be unique. But still, if on your web page you have got two elements which have the same ID, then always remember that Selenium scans the page like this from left to right side and it goes down. Okay, Selenium scans the page like this. So if there are two elements on the web page with the same ID, and suppose one is over here and the other one is over here, then Selenium will use the first one. It will get rid of the second one, it will use the first one. Okay, right? What if you have to use the second one? There are ways for that, I'll tell you later on. But generally, there should be no two IDs, right? But this is the first thing. Secondly, I am writing two lines of code over here to interact with one element. Okay, so if I generally we don't do like this. I'll tell you how do we write the code. We write like this that driver.findElement by the ID login one, and on that send keys. Hello. Execution of this line will start from the left side. Okay. First, driver.findElement by the ID is executed. Then on that send keys user one or whatever is the user that can be fired. So first the web element is extracted and on that this is the web element at runtime. You are firing the send keys function. And similarly you know for the password. So if we don't write two lines, okay, the web element is extracted and on that we fire the function. Alright, fine. So driver.findElement by the ID, driver.findElement by the name. This is done. Anybody with any questions? Anyone? Alright. Now, how do we investigate the web pages in different browsers? On Mozilla, you have this Mozilla Inspector. Okay. You can right click on any element and say inspect element and you can inspect the element. Alright. In Chrome, okay, in case of Chrome, if I run this script, in case of Chrome, you have got Chrome Inspector. In Chrome also, you can right click on any element and you will get the option to inspect. And you will have this Chrome Inspector opening up. Okay. You can click on this arrow as well. Move the mouse to any element and that element will be highlighted. Okay. Right. This is Chrome Inspector. You can also open it with the shortcut. Hold on, first F.